Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel on the 23rd of October. It's 9:42 in the morning, and it's 64 degrees, cool, high of 78, low of 55. So we're definitely out of summer. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to start with some praise while people come in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Um, I'm going to go into the live stream real quick while people are coming in and put a couple of posts up there. I'm having trouble here. Let me figure this out. Hang on a second. Having difficulty. There we go. All right. Let me see if we're cooking with gas here with sound and picture. It looks good so far. Not sure if we have sound. Let me see if we do. Okay. Let me put a couple of quick posts up while people are coming in. I'll give you an update on my wife in a minute. I don't know my contact. I don't know who that is. I'm going to take it down because it's can be considered obscenity. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of quick posts in the live stream while people are coming in, and they'll be quick. I'm just going to put my email address up if anybody wants to ask for prayer requests or anything like that. All right. Okay. All right. People are asking about what happened with my wife. Well, let me explain. My wife is wanting to remain a little more private on this than I talked about yesterday under the stress of what had happened. And she wants it quiet. If you contact, please don't contact my wife on other social media platforms because she got slammed with a lot of postings, and she's not really in a position to handle all these postings right now. Okay, so please don't contact her on social media. You can contact me. She's better, I would guess, from talking to her. and we don't have any high specifics yet. The doctors first come into work in the morning, and the usual tests and stuff like that. So I'll keep you guys surprised, but please keep the prayers going for her for healing, for my wife Rivka for healing. Okay, and you could pray for me too. So now I'm stuck by myself, and that might be challenging for me in some ways. I don't know yet. We'll find out. And I'll keep you posted. Those of you that know me and want to contact me by email, feel free. You know. So things look like they're on the way up, not down. They're getting improvement. Okay. So keep the prayers going is all I could say. Since we're talking about these type of things, I don't think I'm going to be moving into expanding the internet into what I was talking about the other day. I don't think that's going. I'm going back more towards the boots on the ground thing going, and I think it's not far off at all. So that's where I'm headed with this. Okay, so I will keep you apprised as best I can. And I do wish to sincerely thank everybody for praying, and please keep the prayers going. And I need them too. Not myself, of course, because of this, but I felt I should do a live stream. There's things to talk about, and I want to, stay functioning. I don't want to just sit and stare, Visiting in hospitals in Israel isn't, they don't like it a lot of times, and they don't want you there, and they got certain hours, and different things. So I don't know how we're going to do that yet, but we'll see. We'll learn more today from them, and we'll proceed from there. But like I said, things were looking up compared to when it first occurred. Well, it's cool out today. I'm in long pants and a heavy sweatshirt now. So again, really thank you for the prayers. All right, so let me see if we got anything in the live stream. On this, I might be getting questions. I'm not sure. Okay. Thank you guys again for the prayers. All right, so let's get into it. I learned today that the United States has 57,000 troops in the Middle East theater, let's call it, because it's going to go to war. Okay. And the countries that the troops are in, and I don't have an exact count per location, but Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. Now, there's Jordan, Saudi Arabia has sort of veered away from America and is going to be conducting in the coming days naval military exercises in the Indian Ocean. So let's explain the Indian Ocean. You got the Persian Gulf, which kind of looks something like this, and then outside the Persian Gulf, you have a little area called the Sea of Oman. And then from there, as you move east, you go to the Indian Ocean. So the Indian Ocean is not very far from the Persian Gulf. Now, Saudi Arabia has months ago stopped selling oil and probably natural gas for US dollars or euros. That's turning against America. Okay. Saudi Arabia is very scared of Iran and Yemen, and also Iraq and Syria attacking their oil refineries and their military and their infrastructure and everything else, their palaces, And I think they had grave doubts about relying on America. Okay? And I think they decided to go with more getting along with Iran. So Saudi will turn on Israel. It's in Jeremiah 49. They get hit pretty bad. And it's come into play. It's moving into position. They don't follow the Bible. They don't think it's real or true or anything like that. Now, UAE is possibly going to go with Saudi Arabia, but I can't say for sure. UAE's in Brics, Saudi's not. I don't know. Okay, but the chances are that the UAE and Saudi may be not attacked by Iran because they're moving closer to Iran. But then again, you never know. Iran is psychotic. Um, a lot of the other now Qatar is possibly you could consider Qatar a friendly country to or Qatar they call it Qatar to the Iranians. They support Hezbollah, Hamas. You know they may not get hit. Bahrain is big Navy base for America, and I guess there's aircraft there, and that could also be a problem. People in the U.S. Congress are now up in arms here because Iran told the UN, I believe yesterday, it could be the day before, um, I'm like ahead of you, so it's, Wednesday morning here, Um, so Iran um, could be, so I don't remember what day it was. It could have been yesterday, the day before. They told the UN openly that the Americans have approved the attack plans for Israel to attack Iran, and they're supporting it, and they're giving it their, we're behind Israel. And Iran said to the UN openly they're going to hold the U.S. responsible if Israel attacks Iran. And believe me, Israel will attack Iran. Now, holding them responsible doesn't specifically tell us what they're going to do. In recent days, they have threatened to attack numerous times different people in the Iranian government that are high up, IRGC generals and other ministers in the government, that they would attack the American bases in the Middle East, which I read you a list of. Okay. Before this thing with Iran heated up, there was 37,000 American troops in these Middle East bases, which also include Iraq and Syria. Sorry, I forgot that. There's quite a few in Iraq and Syria. Now, there's also room for them to attack embassies and consulates in these countries too. That because America does have embassies, minimally maybe consulates in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Iraq and Syria. I don't think they have anything in Iran. And I think I said Jordan. Okay, so there's a lot of American military equipment and soldiers in Kuwait. They used to be in Saudi Arabia. Nobody's talking. They may still be there. I don't know. And they would be, of course, in Jordan and some in Oman and some in UAE. But I think that if the Saudis and UAE turn significantly towards against America, the troops would be removed. They may have already been removed. I don't know. They're not talking. I'm sure the Israeli government knows what's going on, but they don't talk. Why should they? the Congress in America is saying that this is a shame. It's a deplorable action what America's doing with these bases. They're implying it's like Pearl Harbor or something, where they know an attack is coming and they're leaving these bases as sitting ducks. Now, why? And what do they mean, sitting ducks? Well, the experts are saying these bases are generally small and they're not big, serious military installations. And they could defend against, mortars, Katyusha rockets, machine guns, grenade launchers, anti-tank, shoulder-fired weapons. But they're not able to defend against sophisticated missiles, like ballistic missiles or hypersonic, or if they really have those, I don't know. Hypersonic means it's more than Mach 4, which is more than 3,000 mile an hour movement of the missile. That's the least standard for ballistic. Some people escalate it to 5, higher, like Mach 5 or 6 or something. So, but we don't really know. Iran said they used ballistic missiles against Israel, and our IDF said they did not. And the IDF does not run around lying to the Israeli public, because it's be rather stupid. Everybody knows somebody in the military, okay? They have relatives in the military, okay? Friends and neighbors have relatives in the military, children, cousins, nephews, nieces, whatever, right? And lots of people work for the government, and it's a small country, so they're not really in the habit of telling lies to Israel. They said the other day that Hezbollah is down to 30% effectiveness, and I believe them. Okay? And I'm sarcastic and slow to believe, but I believe them when they say that. Because they're not in the habit of lying to the public of Israel. And not about things like this. It's too easy for the people in Israel to figure it out. But Hezbollah started with a large arsenal, probably about 150,000 missiles. So they still got missiles. And we keep whittling them down day and night. And that's real as rain. In my Telegram, I post videos and pictures of the attacks every day. During the day, during the evening, I'm constantly updating it. And you could join the Telegram, just send me an email and put in the subject header Telegram, and I'll send you the invite link. I do believe you'll need to use the app, which is called Telegram Messenger, which is free, and Telegram is free. It's all free. There's none of this, send X amount of dollars in every month to see the postings. None of that. And it has 700 million users, more than that, actually. And there's really no censorship to speak of, unless you're like doing hate crimes or calling for violence or posting copyright materials like a movie or something like that. So they're really censorship free to a great extent, more than any other social media that I'm aware of that's of any substance. There's little ones you can do whatever you want. You can go into the dark web, I guess, and do anything. But I have no interest in the dark web. All right. So what Congress is saying is these bases are sitting ducks, and they're out there to let Iran attack them. And when Iran attacks them, then they got a great excuse to get into the war without going to Congress. Look, Iran attacked our bases. That's it. We don't need to go to Congress. Boom, we're after them. Okay? Now, when you analyze these political talking heads and heads of state and stuff like that, you don't necessarily just believe everything that comes out of their mouth. Because they're liars. That's why they're in the position of heads of state and ministers, because they're good at lying. You look at their actions. So what are America's actions? Well, they've increased their troops on the bases. There were used to be 37,000 going back a few months. Now it's gone up to 57,000. That's a substantial increase. I'm told that the U.S. has about 1,000 aircraft in the region now, which I could believe, because America has about 1,000 aircraft because they're sitting on north of 13,000 aircraft, in military aircraft. So yeah, that's not hard to believe. They've had months to build it up. I get no word as to where the aircraft carrier Truman strike group is, but I would be shocked if they're not in theater now, probably in the Mediterranean. They could be in the Red Sea. They could be in the Indian Ocean or Sea of Oman, along with the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier group, which is around the Sea of Oman, just outside the Persian Gulf. So they could launch aircraft that could strike Iran, and Iran probably isn't going to be able to get any kind of a missile strike of any substance against them. Remember, an aircraft carrier can be moving. I've got to take this. It could be something about my wife. Hi. Hello. Rabbit? Yeah, hi. Oh, considering I'm okay. Yeah, they're doing tests this morning. I don't know. Let me see when you come here, and we'll figure it out when you get here. I don't know what's going on with her yet. Yes, she does, but yeah, she does. But when they're, doing something with her, they don't want her on the phone. But she does have it, and Shoshana calls her, and she answers for Shoshana, so she should pick up if you call. I've got the doors open, no problem. Just I'm here, no. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye. That was about somebody helping with the bird feeding. Okay, so um, that's what they're afraid of. America's just leaving these. So if Iran fires the missiles at these bases, what's going to happen is the missiles are going to land. I don't know if they have Patriot anti-missile systems. I get the distinct impression they don't. Iran already set up missile launches aimed at what they consider to be American targets, which we're assuming is American bases. They could also want embassies and consulates, but I think the bases are their primary. They would want to probably attack where the American aircraft are. They might attack Navy ships. And you got to remember, an aircraft carrier is not a stationary object like a military base in, Ramstein or something like that. It moves around. So you need to have not just a regular ballistic missile where you put coordinates in and you try to get it to land on those coordinates. Now, the last time they attacked Israel, their accuracy was off by a half a mile. So in other words, they launch a missile and they could go a half a mile off this way, this way, this way, this way. So they're not that accurate. Now, we were told that they hacked our electronic warfare system just before that last attack. And the electronic warfare system would be the kind that disturbs the missiles. It makes it, not connect with radar, and it gets skitsy and screws up and goes off course and stuff like that. Doesn't know where it is and things of that nature. So that's what I heard. Is it true? I think so, but I don't know. So their accuracy might be much worse. So hitting their best missiles were off a half a mile against a stationary target. So you got to understand that the Abraham Lincoln is so far out of reach, they would need a long-range ballistic missile to hit it, and it's a moving target, and their missiles were shown to be a half a mile off course after hurting our electronic warfare systems. So they're not going to be able to hit the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. If it was closer, they could use anti-ship missiles, possibly launched from the shore or maybe from a Navy vessel they have. They have a junky Navy, and hit the boat. They also might be able to deploy their go-fast boats, which are boats that are roughly like an old PT boat in World War II. They run basically 60 to 90 feet. They're all different kinds. They've got torpedoes mounted on the deck. So the way they aim the torpedo is by steering the boat towards the deck, and they need to get relatively close. Maybe they could be a mile away. I don't know. Maybe more. And I think some of these missiles are wire guided, so they can control the course of the missile if the boat changes position. But sending these go-fast boats out into the Sea of Oman or the Indian Ocean is not, I don't think, tactically feasible for Iran to accomplish. Okay, I don't think they could do it. The boats are not long-range boats. They could put, extra barrels of fuel on the boat or something like that, but these boats are going to chug at probably 45 to 65 miles an hour. They're fast. And fuel consumption will be, tremendously quick. And the American aircraft will take out the boats. They're not going to let those boats start approaching. The idea would be to send, 30 boats or some high number to create a swarm attack against the aircraft carrier or the destroyers and launch lots of torpedoes. And they could have also, they could carry shoulder-fired anti-ship missiles on the go-fast boat. They could carry armor-piercing RPGs. There's things they could do, but they got to get pretty close to the boat. And I don't think they're going to get within 25 miles of that boat, of any of the boats. And America's going to just contact them and tell the boats to turn away. And if they don't turn away, they're going to say, we're considering it an aggressive action, we're going to attack. Then they'll fire warning shots, and then they'll attack. So I don't think Iran has a plan there. But they did program a lot of missiles, they said, to hit American targets in the Middle East. They also said that they would attack the oil refineries in the Middle East of the countries that would help Israel by allowing Israel access to their airspace or doing takedowns. So Jordan's on that list. And I don't know who else. But they also may not care what these oil-producing countries did. They may just want to create a massive oil crisis in the world and just hit them all anyway to break the backs of Europe and America, and it would also hurt South America and Africa and many places by spiking oil prices, which some people say could get to the $350 a barrel range, and even $500. $350 a barrel is oil goes up by 5. So if you're paying $3 at the pump, it could be $15 rather rapidly. It's not going to go up to $350 in a day, but it probably would within a week or two, depending on the extent of the damage, which would take time to analyze. And these oil refineries could probably be rebuilt. What's the time it takes? What about Iran preventing them from rebuilding and just continually attacking? There's all kinds of variables. I was thinking that the oil would come, would top off at about 200 a barrel, but people that know oil and the commodity market are more or less in the 350 and higher range because of the fear factor. There's companies that need oil, gasoline, diesel fuel, home heating in the futures market for future delivery at higher prices. Because it's better than not having it all. Like somebody that's delivering lumber or food, people are still going to want to eat, so the prices on the food is going to go up. But on a dozen eggs, the price for the extra fuel isn't going to be $2. It might be 25 cents or something. So they're going to be able to handle it. So they're going to buy the fuel at higher prices so the trucks can run. FedEx, UPS, same thing. The airlines, the same thing. They're just going to probably raise prices. So if you were taking a trip, I'm just going to say New York to Miami round trip, $350 or something like that. It may go to $550 or $600, or because fuel's a big thing. Cruise ships will probably dock because it's going to, the big ships burn a gallon of fuel every 5 feet. So that's going to be causing a lot of increases in cruise ship fare, and they would probably have less cruises because there's not going to be that many people. So they'll probably start canceling cruises. So the people that really want to cruise anyway are going to be all crammed into the same boats if they even run them. But if war breaks out, there's such a fear of the ship getting hit that they're, by mistake or intentionally, they probably will cancel they'll dock the cruise ships up someplace, probably in America. Cuba had the power outage, which I think America probably did, and 70% of Cuba now has power restored. But if they knock it out once, they can knock it out again. And Russia's putting warships up at Cuba. So the Russian warships dock up at Cuba. There's, they could run their own generators on the submarine while they're at port. Or they could, plug into the electrical grid at Cuba and shut their engines down for working on them and run the auxiliary systems of the sub off the electrical grid. So that would mean they would run the air conditioning, the lights, the pumps, getting water, because all these things leak a little bit, getting the water out. Maybe submarines are more watertight, I don't know. And things like that, running the kitchens, running the computers, stuff like that. And that would give them a chance to work on the engines if they needed and so forth. So that, by knocking the power grid down, they can't do that. So that means they've got to run their generators while they're docked up. And it's an interesting thing. The other thing is, I'm sure Russia has deployed ground radar in Cuba, and their radar wouldn't be working, I don't believe, with the power grid out. Now, there's radar and there's radar. There's radar they could run on generators, but they might have really big, powerful radar systems that could reach out a couple hundred miles or something like that, and they could be down. This we don't know. But with 30% of the country still down, we don't know what's affected and what's not. That's it for Cuba. There's a lot of submarine hunters running around America. So they're very concerned about Russian submarines off the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Gulf of Mexico as well as near Alaska, and I'm sure they're quite concerned about Hawaii as well. Um, South Korea has basically entered the war in Ukraine. North Korea sent 11, 12,000 soldiers that went to Russia. They're being trained in Russia about the war, and they're getting Russian uniforms, and they're going to be basically, I guess Putin is inducting them into the Russian army and training them, and then they're going to fight in Ukraine for Russia. So North Korea entered the war against Ukraine, which is basically fighting against the EU and especially NATO. And South Korea entered the war basically by sending, I believe it's artillery shells to Ukraine as a compensation for what North Korea did. So South Korea probably has many more weapons they can give to Ukraine, and I imagine that will start. That's supposed to be a check and balance against Putin, who's going to ignore it. Putin is way past deterrent value. Putin is, at this point, fighting for his life. Drones are hitting St. Petersburg, Moscow, not the long-range missiles yet, just the drones. They're taking down Russian missiles, they're taking down Russian drones, they're taking down Russian aircraft, destroying Russian tanks. You know, in the past, they hit Russian naval vessels in the Black Sea. So Ukraine is becoming very aggressive against Russia, and Russia is really desperate. NATO troops are staged all around borders with Russia. It's serious. Putin is probably mad as all get up that South Korea's decided to support Ukraine, and the soldiers that North Korea sent are supposedly crack troops, commandos, and so forth, so they might be able to fight. I don't know. How many and what kind of North Korean weapons came with them, we don't know. I don't think they transferred tanks or anything like that. North Korea is postured for war against South Korea with 700 installations on the border with South Korea on the North Korean side, which are long-range artillery, which can go 40 miles, and various types of missile launches and pods. And they have plenty of spare ammunition and extra missiles staged so they can launch a horrible attack against South Korea. And they've destroyed the railroads, the bridges, and the roads connecting South and North Korea, so that makes it very difficult for South Korea to do a ground incursion and shut down these missile launches and missiles. So North Korea attempted to put landmines in the DMZ zone to stop that from being a crossing point into North Korea, but the South Koreans shot at them. This is some days ago for doing that, and they had to abandon it. So the tensions with South and North Korea are very, very high, and as I've told you repeatedly, the only chance that Russia and China have, which are the top tier here, the next tier down would be North Korea and Iran. And then from there, you go down to Cuba, Venezuela, Belarus, things like that, maybe Nicaragua, which are much weaker, less important countries that could add to the fight. China and Russia are not disposable assets, okay? Iran and North Korea are sort of disposable assets, but they really don't want to lose them, okay? Iran is attempting to control all the oil countries in the Middle East. And that's what Biden and America have been doing, and they're not happy. And Brics is a serious threat. They had their meeting start already yesterday, in the 22nd, and they're talking now about letting Pakistan into Brics. And India is supposedly going to approve that. And the big powers in Brics that are selling oil are really Iran and Russia, plus to some extent the UAE. And Yemen has a little oil and stuff like that. Iraq has some oil. Syria, I don't know if they have oil anymore. I think everything's been blown up. So, you know, if you shut down Iran, and Russia's already discombobulated. If you shut down Iran, you can make Brics just, it kind of turns it into wishful thinking more than a viable tool to shut down the American and the European economy. Now, the thought would be, I'm sure the Americans are thinking, if Iran gets slammed, Saudi Arabia and UAE are going to be very quick to call Biden up on the phone and say, hey, Joe, listen, this is, me from Saudi Arabia. What do you say we sit down and have some lunch and see if we can patch things up? And then Biden says, of course, we've been your friend for decades. Come over, we'll have a dinner, I'll throw you a big party. We want to be your friends, we love you. So the UAE and Saudi Arabia know they have an open door to America. If they take that route, the UAE might, but I believe Saudi Arabia's already decided it wants to go with Russia and Iran and China and all that. Now, Saudi Arabia knows that the way you destroy America is Russia opens up on NATO countries. Like, what do I mean? Well, they could start attacking Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, countries that can't really, hold up very well at all. Very quick, easy invasions. They also know they have to shut down Poland. Now, Poland got a mean punch. Poland can fight back. They got weapons. They're not easily taken down like Lithuania, Latvia, and so forth. They got a punch. So could Russia knock out Poland? If it was a war between Poland and Russia, I'm sure Putin would severely damage Poland and maybe take it out, take it over. I don't know. But it depends what Putin's willing to throw at it. Now, Putin can't go ahead and say he's going to take 150,000 soldiers and 95 aircraft and 400 tanks and start rolling on Poland, because NATO's on all his borders. He's got to be very careful. Putin's in a very bad mess. Okay? Putin by himself against NATO, at best, NATO and Putin are going to bust each other up severely and nobody's going to be a winner. But when you add in Iran and North Korea and China, and they all work together, of course, probably with Cuba, Venezuela, Belarus, some of the stand countries that are allied with Russia, you work them all at the same time against these four countries, China and North Korea, Iran and Russia. If they all work together against America, America can't hold up. So America is in the snare, which is in Bible prophecy, and I will read it to you. It's one scripture, one verse, very quick and easy to understand. It uses the term daughter of Babylon. We all know that's America. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. Well, they've definitely striven against Jehovah with all the debauchery and crazy behavior in the U.S. and what they advocate, and you know, I don't need to elaborate on that. You know, so Biden's got probably about 14 more ships in the Asia Pacific theater. China's getting ready to do military maneuvers near Taiwan, and America and Canadian warships are near Taiwan, and China has told them they're going to be conducting open fire exercises, and they better get the ships out of there or else their ships may get destroyed. And I believe that China already started a little bit with their open fire exercises. That means they're going to shoot artillery, missiles, rockets, and various things. Now, China's been circling Taiwan with numerous Navy vessels, which could be 5 or 6 to 10 or 12, probably 50 times in the last few months. And they also, at the same time, fly numerous airplanes over Taiwan, violating their airspace. And they've been practicing doing a blockade on Taiwan. So China is very coy, very smart, very, very conservative, and they hate taking chances. So they may start with a blockade, which is what this live fire drill might evolve into. And they say, we don't want any warships approaching Taiwan, leaving Taiwan, nor any aircraft over Taiwan coming or going. And this boils down to a standoff like the Bay of Pigs in the early 60s with Cuba, but it's with Taiwan, and it boils down to, will America push China and bring warships and aircraft into the Taiwan area to see if China really intends to shoot at them? And we don't know what China would or would not do. China and Russia and North Korea and Iran have been crushed significantly by American sanctions, and they want out, and that's why they're trying to set up, which they already have set up, and they're going to start using the Brics pay system, which is a blockchain digital currency that they're going to use amongst themselves, and they're not going to be using any dollars, and I assume no euros, to buy and sell oil, rice, grain, cattle, orange juice pulp, and of course oil and natural gas. And that's going to hurt the American economy. And as they have 159 countries that want to join this digital currency thing in Brics, because they're sick and tired of American weaponizing the US dollar and controlling international banking through the SWIFT system, confiscating money from countries, putting fines on them and things like this. So they want in. These countries are not idiots, and they understand that America, with NATO's help, is not going to be able to hold up against Russia, Iran, North Korea, China. Then you got Cuba, and you got Venezuela, and you've got Belarus, and some stand countries. And America can't do that. NATO's got some power, but they're really only good for dealing with Russia. Now, if Russia starts engaging NATO openly, NATO's not going to be able to come help America in other theaters. They simply are going to be overwhelmed with what they got to deal with in Russia, Belarus, and then there's Kaliningrad, which is Russian territory in that area, near Poland and Romania, which are full of Russian weapons and troops. Both of these, they could start invading. Russia could hit small countries, and NATO is just in no shape to come help America in the Pacific or anywhere. Okay? Iran lights up the Middle East at the same time, and America is rather committed in the Middle East. And America is rather committed in the Asia Pacific theater, and North Korea and China open up over there, and America will crumble. Now, add to this the sleeper agents in America that I'm rather sure would be deployed at the same time, and America would be scrambling to try to get their troops to come home to protect the homeland, and it's just too much for America. And then add into the fact you got Biden as the commander in chief of the military, and his cabinet are all Obama trained, or almost all of them. Blinken, Jake Sullivan, and Austin are definitely from the Obama era, no doubt about it. It's been documented. So, Biden, as you could call him, would be running with idiots. Now, Blinken's in the Israel today, I believe, and he's going to be traveling around the Middle East, and the alibi or the explanation for his visit is let's give peace a chance and calm things down. Now, don't listen to everything that comes out of Blinken and Sullivan and Austin and Biden's mouth or Kamala's mouth. Look at their actions, because they're lying. America's not going to come over here and say, look, we're here to support Iran, we to support Israel, we want to get rid of Iran. They're a threat to us in Brics, and they're a threat to the Middle East. They want to control the oil. We're trying to get a provocation so Iran does something stupid and we can attack without Congress and just bust them out. Okay? America's never going to say that. So what are they going to say? Give peace a chance. And they don't mean it. Iran gotta go. And Biden wants to do this before the election. The other day, I think yesterday, Biden said Trump should go to jail. He's talking about we got to get Trump in jail. Remember, none of us really know if Trump's going to win the election. None of us know. Do you know? I mean, are you a prophet? God told you this is going to happen? We don't know. We think he's going to win the election. It's rather absurd to imagine that Kamala would win the election, but Biden did win an election against Trump, although that's not that outlandish because Biden was a vice president for 8 years and a senator for a long time. Before that, and where the heck did Kamala come from, and what the heck does Kamala have? And you know, you have, like my wife points out to me, there's a lot of people that just vote Democrat. You know, they don't pay much attention to it. Yeah, I like Democrats. I'm for whoever the Democrats put in, you know. If they put an actor in, like Ronald Reagan, you know, was the president, or they put in a famous baseball player, they haven't done that yet. But, you know, they vote for him. But I don't think there's that many that would. You know, now there's a lot of people that came across the border in a questionable fashion that some states are allowing to vote, and they might vote for Biden, for Kamala, not Biden, but. And they, you know, while there's polls and there's polls, you can make a poll say what you want it to say by being very deceitful and careful who you select to poll. You don't poll the whole United States. Probably for every, you know, 100,000 people, you poll one person or something like that, you know. So they might not be doing well. And Biden could use executive order to suspend the election if they're in a war. with the sleeper agents breaking out, especially in protests and violence and burning buildings, to just say, well, the country just can't take that kind of inward explosion during, for this election, so I'm going to suspend it from November 4th to January 4th. And we'll still have enough time to vote on January 4th, and then we could still swear in a president by January 20th. It wouldn't be that hard, and it could do that. And of course, he could again in January put another executive order in for 60 days or 90 days. This could be done. Could Congress override this? Yeah, I think so, but they would need to have, probably a very high majority, 2/3 or so, and I don't know if they could summon that many to override it. So there might not be an election, and that might be why Biden is pushing for an attack before election day. Once election day comes around, and if Trump wins, then Biden becomes a lame duck, and then Kamala just disappears into memory lane. Nobody has any issues about her anymore. And now Biden is not supposed to initiate any changes or anything. Whether or not he'll adhere to it, we don't know. Maybe he would. So then Netanyahu talks with Trump, and Trump calls countries after Israel up on the phone and says, January 20th by 6 o'clock in the evening, after I get sworn in, you're going to have B-52 bombers over your capital if you keep this up. And that kind of a threat would be a extremely scary threat to the enemies of Israel and the enemies of Ukraine and enemies of South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. And Trump, after he wins the election, if he wins, there would be briefings, and he would have access to all the military information, the intel strategies, plans, and so forth. He could not tell them what to do, but he could know and understand what they're doing, and if he takes action on his own by promising to do things after he's sworn in, there's nothing Biden could do to him about that. So things could get extremely interesting very quickly. Now, Israel has said that they will attack Iran, they will attack heavy, and they are not going to even tell the various ministers in the Israeli government when the attack is going to be. The only ones that are going to know is probably the Minister of Defense, Gallant, the generals, not the War Cabinet. The War Cabinet's approving the plans as to what's going to be attacked, but in terms of when it's going to be attacked, they're not even telling the War Cabinet. So that's to prevent leakage and to make sure that Iran doesn't know when it's coming. I'm not the only one talking about this executive order to postpone the election. I am not the only one. It is a real threat. Don't delude yourself. People in America have a bad habit of thinking Donald Trump is going to be their savior out of this mess they're in. Okay? And let me tell you, okay, if and for Israel, Donald Trump would be like what, 11 times better than Kamala Harris, 35 times better. I mean, massively better for Israel. I'm aware of that. Okay, but let's be realistic. First of all, Donald Trump is not a god. Okay, getting rid of the what they call illegal aliens, migrants, whatever, whether or not they applied for asylum, is a massive undertaking, and I seriously doubt anybody in the border patrol or ICE system for many years would be able to tell you that Donald Trump's going to be able to accomplish this in 4 years. He could do a lot of things. He could cut off their welfare, their financial support to some extent, but if the states keep giving it to him, then he has to cut the payments off to the state so they don't have the money to do it. And that's a tricky thing to do. But Donald Trump would be in his second term, not being able to be reelected, so he would possibly turn on some of the states. But the Republican Party wouldn't like that because the states would go away from being Republican. It would go to Democrat, without a doubt, So there, a lot of these people that are in the country, the sleeper agents, as they refer to them, are, under asylum, and that means that they're in the judicial system, and Trump would have to do a legal system to get rid of them, and that means he'd have to open up new courts, new judges, new this, new that, which he would do. But you're talking 30 to 50 million of these people. That's where it is. And it's going to grow if Trump wins the election, which is highly likely. There's going to be millions more flooding in because they know that if they wait till January 20th, Trump's going to put walls up on the border. He might put artillery and machine guns and dogs and landmines on the border. Trump is dead serious about closing the border. Okay? Look, you can take your border walls, your 25-foot steel walls, you can put them up. Then you could go 15 or 20 feet in and you can put barbed wire fences up with electricity. Okay? Before the electric fence, maybe 10 feet before, you have a big barbed wire fence. Then you have an electrical fence. Then you have a piece of land that's 60 yards wide. And in that, you put landmines. Then you put another electrified fence. Then you put another regular fence. Would that stop the illegal aliens from coming in? Well, I think it would stop 99% of them. It's cheap. It doesn't cost much. He could dig a moat. I mean, that's, going to get the UN and the whole world's going to scream at Trump for that. What if he just dug a moat? He goes down 25 feet, goes wide 100 feet, okay, and goes down 10 or 12 feet, and he puts a moat in there. That's going to cut down at least half of it. What if he just gets more conventional, puts one nice 25-foot high wall, then there's a bunch of razor ribbon and barbed wire walls, and then there's another 25-foot high wall? Well, you're going to cut down a massive amount of it that way. And then you got to make sure there's no tunnels. If they got tunnels, you got to find them and blow them up. That's not an easy thing to do. Israel has great experience at that. That could be a hairy thing to do. That could take months to get there. Israel would help with the technology that we have if they need it, but they may not need it. But it's still a big job. I'm telling you, we go through it all the time. And that's just the Mexico-America border. They come in on the Pacific Ocean, they come in the Gulf of Mexico, and they come in Florida, in the Atlantic. They come in on the oceans too. So then he has to put Border Patrol agents up on the beaches with very serious patrolling, like what they did in World War II. They had these Coast Guard guys, what did they call them? Coast Guard. They were like commandos in the Coast Guard, okay? They were trained like, not necessarily like a recon Marine. They were trained more like 101st Airborne or something like that. They were pretty crack combat troops. They got trained in multiple weapons. They used guard dogs, dogs to smell people coming in. And they knew how to fight unarmed combat, and they were very proficient, and they used them to patrol the beaches. They'd walk, they did foot patrol and vehicle patrol. They knew how to look, they could track people. They were trained for that, and footprints in the sand and all that kind of stuff. So they would patrol to keep enemy agents from surfacing in a submarine or offshore and then getting in a raft and paddling up the shore at night and then taking their gear out and sinking the raft or burying it or whatever, and then they'd go about their business in America with sabotage and espionage and everything else. So they could put that on the beaches. But these are all the things Trump would have to do. In addition, he has to get dozens of millions of people out of the country that don't belong here, and many of them have status in the court system. Don't think it's going to be 6 months and they're gone. He's going to dent it, but it's not easy. He's got to expand ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and it means he has to, they got to recruit. He's probably going to need to recruit 10, 15, 20,000 agents. And that means to get qualified people and run them through the training, which is going to take them at least 4 to 6 months, probably to get well-trained 6 months. And they got to recruit them, run background investigations, schedule classes, get them in. You're talking probably 9 months till you start seeing anything reasonable get churned out. A year. To get a large amount of them, it could take 2 or 3 years. He could stop the existing flow quickly in a week or 2 or 3 or a month, from the land border, and he could stop the sea border too with Coast Guard patrols. It could all be stopped. The flow can be cut, but to get them out, very hard. Very, very hard. So Trump is, not going to be able to change the economy, the deficit. He's not going to change the Federal Reserve System at all. Trump would be great for Israel. Trump could make a peace with Russia and Ukraine at the expense of Ukraine. Trump probably realizes it's not worth it. Let's just get rid of it. I'll make friends with Putin and we'll make money with Putin together and everybody will buy a new Rolls Royce and we'll all be happy. And could Trump do that? He could. Would Putin talk to Trump? 100%. Would they likely become friends? Yes. Could Putin do that with China? Not a chance. No. And not North Korea. And not Iran. Putin, yeah. Could he sever Putin away? Yeah, he cuts the sanctions out and gets into trade with, he could do it. He could fix Putin. And Putin and Trump could play golf together or whatever, they'd be buddies, and I agree. Could he do it with North Korea? Not a chance. Could he do it with China and Iran, North Korea? No. What about Venezuela? Hard, maybe. What about Cuba? Sure, he could do it with Cuba. Nicaragua? Yeah, he could do it with that. But the Middle East, he's not going to fix, and he's not going to fix China and North Korea. They're not fixable. He could maybe calm things down, but what's he going to do with Taiwan? Tell China to go drop dead? Taiwan's our ally. We don't care about your unification. Take a long walk on a short pier. I'm Donald Trump. I'll kill you if you don't. That basically is it, you know. And then he'll tell him, if you mess with Japan, you know, I'll do a bonsai kamikaze attack on China, you know. And North Korea, yeah, well, he can't make friends with North Korea. He tried that. What he can do with North Korea is, you know, scare them, and that's a military buildup in South Korea above and beyond what's already there. And that's what he'd have to do with Taiwan and Japan. And he has to worry about the Philippines and Guam, and to a lesser extent worry about Australia. So, you know, Trump would have to have enough time to put at least another 5 or 500,000 or 900,000 more people in the military, which would take 18, 24 months to get him in and trained that he could do it. You know, Trump would be great for Israel, really. I mean, you know, he sent 3 aircraft carriers over here. He put one in the Red Sea permanently, one off our coast in the Mediterranean, and one near Iran. And he'd start flying bombers all over Iran airspace and everything else. And he would scare Iran to death. Yeah, I mean, you know, who's scared about going to war with Biden? I mean, the guy can't find his way off a stage. You got to understand that. But don't sell yourself into thinking that this is the deliverer of America. He's one of them. He's a billionaire. Okay, he never got rid of Obamacare, did he? He's promised many things that he never delivered on. And he always wanted Israel to do a 2-state solution. Right from day one after he was sworn in, he wanted a 2-state solution, which is death to Israel. So how much behind Israel is he really? He never stopped pushing us for a 2-state solution. He never stopped. So he's one of them guys, or he wouldn't be a Republican candidate for president. He's 100% better than Biden and Kamala, but don't overestimate the guy. Someone says their only savior is Yeshua. That's it. People post Trump 2024. I don't take the posts down. Okay, but listen, they just recently determined that the state of Michigan had 100% voter registration in the last few weeks. The normal is 50-ish%. Okay? In extreme cases, voter registration might get up to 70, 72%. This was 100%. So that means everybody registered to vote. That's a little ridiculous. Hello? Okay. I'll go out right now and do it. Anything else? Anything going on over there? Okay. Did they do any tests or anything? Oh, all right. All right, Revy's coming over to feed them. Yeah, but I'm going out. Guys, I'll be right back in a second. Give me a second Sorry, guys, that was my wife calling me from the hospital. No bad news at all. Probably the opposite. But she wants me to, keep more confidentiality, and I respect her wishes. So, if anything, it was good news, not bad news. So, keep the prayers coming. All right. So, again, my position on Trump is, I would much, much, much rather see Trump get in than Kamala. But there's lots of problems. Why was there 100% voter registration in Michigan, which is outlandish? I don't know. Is there a chance that everybody in Michigan already registered to vote? People that would be in the hospital, in nursing homes, in cemeteries that never were taken off the poll all voted? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're considering it unusual. So there can be a definite and distinct attempts by Biden's saying that, Trump should be in jail just before the election. How do you interpret that? Is that a good thing? It's very unusual. So, there's not anybody in Israel that would rather see Kamala get in office over Trump. And I believe if Trump wins the election, then Netanyahu will stop talking with Biden to a great extent and just deal with Trump. In the lame dunk months between the election and the swearing in January 20th, the President of the United States is supposed to be way downplayed. If there's a war, he has to act. He has to. But he's not supposed to start pushing new, serious legislation and things like that. Okay? So, but he also can, basically he's just a caretaker. But if he doesn't want to be just a caretaker and he wants to get lunatic bin, he can, I don't know who would stop him. Biden might also have inner feelings, and if he does an executive order to stop an election, he could carry this on past January 20th and remain as president, which would tick Kamala off maybe, but what could she do? So just, this is end times. Crazy things are happening, and they will happen. The world is ready to blow up now worse than it ever was before. This will be worse than World War II. In World War II, they didn't have these kind of weapons. They had propeller planes that were slow. Radar was immature. Okay? Submarines couldn't launch missiles from under the water. They didn't have missiles per se when World War II started. They had very, very immature missiles, if any. I mean, they didn't have anything. They didn't have drones. They didn't have drone boats. They didn't have long-range, high-speed, deadly missiles. They didn't have, what do they call them, JDAM bombs, where they could guide bombs precisely. They used to fly over, like an American bomber. They had, B-29s, all different versions, 2-engine, 4-engine, whatever. They changed them during World War II. And the pilot and the co-pilot would sit in the front, and they'd have a navigator and a radio guy. And they had various crew. They had guys working guns. They had, in the beginning, 50 caliber machine guns. They had them on the roof, the nose, the tail, both sides, and the bottom of the boat, of the plane, to protect from fighters. And they used flak against planes, which was immature compared to the, ground-to-air missiles they have today. Very immature. Flak was, very hit or miss, and they had to have numerous flak guns, and even then they weren't that highly effective. So they had flak, and then they had enemy fighters that would come and try to down the bombers, anything to stop the bombers from attacking the targets. And then even when the bombers were flying away, they kept going after them to make sure they could kill more bombers, so the plane wouldn't be coming back the next day or the next week or whatever. So the destruction capability in World War II was very immature compared to what they have today. Extremely immature. Hitler used to fire V1 and V2 rockets at England. They'd launch the rocket, they would calculate the burn time to go so many distances. So they would say, well, it's so many minutes in flight and it burns so much fuel per minute, and they would put just enough fuel in it so when the thing got over the target area with their estimation, the missile, the V1 and V2, would just fall down and explode when it hit the ground. That's how Hitler did it, and he was still able to make a lot of problems in England with that. But that's nothing like what they got today. Nothing. Nothing. Planes were not launching missiles back then. They had no stealth planes. Radar was around, but it was not anywhere near what they have today. Submarines could go down to about 300 feet. Today, probably go 900, 1,200 feet down. Submarines could never launch missiles of any sort, let alone from under the surface of the ocean. They can launch below, like 40 feet below. They didn't have nuclear submarines that could stay out for years and years. Of course, they run out of food, but they got water purifiers where they take the ocean water, desalinators, and they make it into potable drinking water, so the guys could take showers, when they want to on the sub, right? The old days in World War II, they would take a shower maybe once every 2-3 weeks or something like that. They basically did is when they got a favorable condition, if it was warm weather, they would surface and the guys could jump in the water, and it's nothing like today. Nothing like today. In World War II, you could sneak up on your enemy. They could assemble 300 warships and sneak up on the enemy. You can't do that today. They know where your movements are. So the devastation and destruction is, at least 10, 20 times worse than it was back then. It's amazing how quick they can destroy things. And you're on the verge of seeing this go down. I mean, we could take the position that it's never going to happen. Trump's going to get in office and make peace with everybody, but I think that's the chances of that is like 1 out of 1,000. Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea do not want to give up on Brics because that gets them out from America's sanctions. It raises them up economically above America, and America will fall apart. And America knows it. And they will push forward. And they are not going to let Iran control the Middle Eastern oil. That's their position. So you're going to see this war. And Israel will have surprises for Iran that they don't know. There's many weapons, a lot of missiles and other weapons that Israel has that it has not been, it doesn't need to use these weapons against Hamas, Hezbollah, because they're so close. The same with Syria. We don't need to use these weapons. Iran doesn't know about these weapons. Iran has crappy radar. The best radar they got is the S-400 from Russia, which is easily defeatable. Ukraine defeats it all the time, even blows them up. The S-400 can't even defend itself against Ukrainian weapons. What about Israel weapons? Iran is scared. Hamas has been deactivated. Really, 98%, 99% deactivated. We bombed that facility under the hospital in, I think, believe it was Beirut. Yeah, yesterday and the day before. It was the day before, I think. Actually, we found out that there was a underground bunker thing under a hospital, just like Hamas, human shield stuff. So the hospital got evacuated, and we bombed it and collapsed all the concrete and dirt and everything on their command center with that bunker underground, which had $500 million. And I was telling you it was in US dollars, and I was wrong. I imagine there was some US dollars there. I'm guessing on that. But it was gold. They had gold bars or gold coins or whatever, gold bullion there. $500 million, a B with not a million, a billion with a B. And we dropped the bombs and everything caved in on it. And there was some Lebanese guy the other day, yesterday I think, that they saw was trying to dig in there and get to the gold. I guess Israel felt it was more appropriate politically and so forth to just blow the thing up, to cut Hezbollah off financially, and they also bombed the Hezbollah bank, I think 14 branches. It's called Good Loans something, and they got blown up. So Hezbollah has no ability to purchase things out of the local economy. Like, what do they got to purchase? Well, anything an army needs to buy. Food for one, bottled water for another, fuel. They're always buying stuff, They don't have funds anymore. And we're making sure nothing gets into Lebanon through Syria. They can't come in by ocean, and we could keep a close eye on any aircraft coming in and stop the aircraft. We've turned Iranian planes away already from the Beirut airport. So it's hard as heck for them to get anything in. So Hezbollah is not going to be able to make payroll and purchase things. And there's talk of a civil war in Lebanon. I myself don't see a civil war being the end of this, because it doesn't meet prophecy. Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. We're going to occupy Lebanon. We're going to live there. Lebanon ain't making it, okay? And if there was a civil war that worked, the Lebanese government itself would be in control of Lebanon, and we wouldn't be there. It's not going to happen. Look, Hezbollah is brutal. Okay, they'll kill the children and families of the government officials that push to have this. The civil war would, well, if the people, the general John Doe, we the people of Lebanon, not the government, start rising up against Hezbollah, then the Lebanese government can't do much about it except try to use their own military and police to stop it, which is doubtful that it would happen. But they're not happy with Hezbollah relocating into their villages. They tell them, don't come here, we don't want you here, stuff like that. A real civil war operating against the infrastructure of Hezbollah and stuff is unlikely. Lebanese people spying for Israel is likely, but what good are they going to do? I mean, a little good. They could drive around and walk around and report what they see, report troop movements, the little things, and that probably is going on. But that's about all they can do. And a lot of that can be done with drones and flyover flights and American reconnaissance drones and planes, and so we're capturing Hezbollah. They're surrendering, and that gives us intel, and that tells us more and more about how they work and where their weapons are. And they've had about 20 years to hide weapons in all these crazy places, and now we've got to destroy them. And I think the delay in attacking Iran, a lot of it, not all, but a lot of it has to do with putting Hezbollah down a few more notches in their capability to launch missiles at Israel. They could still get 20, 30, 50, 60 a day off at us. And that needs to come down, way down to like where there's days at a time where they can't launch anything. Can this happen before the election, which is what, November 4th? I don't know. Maybe. We're doing it round the clock. We're doing it day and night. So yeah, it's possible. About a week, maybe 8, 9 days ago, they were telling us Hezbollah was at 60% effectiveness. Now they're at 30%. So perhaps in a week, by the end of the month, they'll be down at 10, 15% effectiveness, and that would probably be okay with Israel to attack Iran if it's true that Biden wants the attack before the election. I could go both ways with that. I could give you reasons why he would want that and other reasons why he doesn't want that. I don't know. I never really saw an official announcement from America, we will have Israel attack Iran before the election day. That never happened. I mean, I hear it in the media, but that is more or less, rumors, it's not really serious anything. I mean, it's, how do we know that that's real? I don't know. It may not happen before the election day. How are we going to know that? I'm not sure we're going to know that. Hang on, I got a message. I don't know what it is. Let me look at it. 1 second. Somebody wishing my wife good wishes from, I think, the government or the hospital. I don't know what it was. It's odd. Nobody would really know. So, expect Israel to do things that Iran is not prepared for, and also understand that whatever Israel does, it has to stop first the radar of Iran, because that is a threat to incoming missiles and aircraft. That has to be taken out, and Israel has a number of different systems to do that. Then, or at about the same time, the missile launch capability of Iran has to be disabled as much as it possibly can disable it. Okay? Because they will start launching at us and at America. Now, if they launch at America, then America is most likely going to get into the war. They could launch at America embassies, consulates, military bases, air bases, naval warships in the water. That's it. So we're in Israel sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop. We don't know for sure what Iran will throw at us. We do know, and I've said this for years, if Netanyahu wants to conduct a war, I can't explain why. Netanyahu is actually good at it. He's not just good at it, he's quite good at it. Okay? Um, and he is probably not going to just go at Iran just with brute force. Boom, boom, boom. He's going to go at Iran with a lot of surprises, and he's not going to just come in like this. He's going to come in with uppercuts, hook punches, hit them where they can't see it coming. Now, exactly what he's going to do, why the heck should he tell anybody? I hope he doesn't tell anybody. It seems that he's not telling America when they're going to hit Iran. Now, that could just be the party line, and he might actually be doing it, and they're just keeping it quiet. I imagine he's going to give them some notice. The American military around the world is on high alert, so they're concerned about this. The things I'm telling you about all of these axis of evil working in unison is no secret to the Pentagon. They're 100% aware of that, okay? Now, they may not be 100% convinced that Iran, North Korea, and China and Russia are all going to operate simultaneously. We don't know how well knit together they are and how dedicated they are, but I think they're all desperate, and they will. Are these countries afraid of Trump or welcoming Trump? Well, again, I think North Korea, Iran, and China are too far out there for Trump. I don't think Trump, China's idea of how to do things is we're going to manufacture cheap junk with with laborers that are making, work all day for a pint of rum, that old song, and, undersell all the other countries and pull the dollars out of America and hurt the American employment rates and all. Trump's smart enough to see the stupidity of that. Trump's a business person. He understands that it's idiotic to play that game with China. North Korea, you can't deal with North Korea. China has enough trouble dealing with North Korea. Okay? The only thing I think North Korea understands is a big stick. Trump has plenty of big sticks. Iran are religious zealots, psychotics that just want to run the Middle East oil, and Trump knows that. Trump's not going to deal with them. He can't. And then comes Russia, and Russia he could deal with because Putin is more of a businessman than most presidents, and he can be spoken to. So Trump could potentially sever Russia away from North Korea, China, and Iran, and Russia and America would be very slow to become allies, but he could theoretically, pull Putin into a more peaceful mode. He would have to do something to Ukraine, but Trump is more than happy to let Ukraine suffer to save Europe. And I don't know how much Ukraine would suffer anyway. 10 million people are displaced already from Ukraine, But I think we're talking hypotheticals right now. Trump's not in office, and I would give it, just about zero chance of continuing to January 21st or January 20th. I think it's reached a peak, and it's going to pop any day. That's what I think. That's what I'm looking at. So what could I tell you other than the truth? And people don't like it, and offerings suffer and stuff like that. But I got to tell you what I see and what I'm shown. The Lord shows me things about these wars, and that's what I got to pass on. Combined with that, I don't want to talk about that. So what else can I tell you? So people in Israel are stressed. They don't know when it's going to happen. Everybody's hoping that Yahweh pulls the rabbit out of the hat, which he's probably going to do. It's year of recompenses. He's probably going to be very successful at the attack on Iran. They've had weeks to plan it, and they probably figured out a way to mess up the missile launch capability of Iran and the radar and all that. After the missiles are destroyed and the threat level from Iran is down, I think Israel will hit the oil and gas industry, and I think America wants that hit because that does not give Brics any Iranian oil to buy using the Brics, blockchain digital currency. Iran is 2 to 3 million barrels a day. It's a big bite. Once Iran's gone, the UAE and Saudi Arabia will just pull right into America's court, and they'll stop with, we're not taking dollars and euros. The dollar will go up. Initially, there'll be stock market crashes, oil price surges, but it could settle down. If it goes this way, I don't know what's going to happen. If they launch the sleeper agents, if Iran and North Korea open up in the Asia Pacific, everything is going to be so confused in the world, nobody's going to know from nothing. And do expect the internet cables to get cut by various countries, and the flow of information will be curtailed. That's how I see it. That's how I tell it. And do I think it's likely that the big four, China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia will attack simultaneously? If they see Iran getting picked off, yeah. Because they're going to see Iran getting picked off. A month or two after that, Russia will get picked off. That would be the sequence. Invaded. Minimally, it would start with NATO troops in Ukraine pushing Russia out, and then if Russia kept making a stink about it, they'd invade Russia and divide Russia amongst the NATO countries, and they would own the oil and natural gas and minerals of Russia, and that would not be sold through Brics. So right away at this point, America is not at any risk anymore from Brics destroying their economy. UAE, Saudi Arabia would go over to their side. Russia would be divided. Iran is kaput. So China and North Korea don't sell anything that they're very worried about. Then would come negotiations with China and try to come up with some sort of a workable situation. And North Korea is North Korea. You put a bunch of Patriot missile systems in there, THAAD missile systems, other anti-missile systems, and you just live with North Korea like Israel lives with Hamas and Hezbollah. And Taiwan would be still Taiwan. But it's not going to happen because China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran know they're all going to be picked off. And Cuba's going to pay a price for hosting the Russian warships, believe me. That's it. So do I think the world will be a war in the coming few days, week, two, probably before the election or thereabouts? Yes. It'll start with Iran, it looks like. Russia's already at war with NATO. Don't kid yourself. And Iran will be. And Iran will lose, according to Bible prophecy, along with Iraq and Syria. They'll get busted up. Saudi Arabia gets busted up. Edom gets busted up, which is Yemen. And probably Jordan, too. And that's what we're looking at here. Okay? And Lebanon gets busted up, of course. Palestine, Gaza is already busted up. It's a trash pile. The West Bank has been pretty calm lately, so Israel routed out the terrorists to a great extent there, which needed to happen. And we've controlled Syria. We're not getting launches to speak of from them. Now Iraq is trying to get drones into Israel, but it's failing. It's not going very well for Iraq with that. They're trying, but it's not working for them. We have a lot of notice of these projectiles coming out of Iraq, and we pick them up on radar long before they get here. And, it's not going too far. Yesterday, 2 drones, I believe, got knocked down in the Dead Sea that came from Iraq. So it's not working for them. They're a harassment to Israel. Cuba does nothing really, neither does Venezuela, neither does Nicaragua, so things are kind of dormant with them. Belarus is dormant, Kaliningrad is dormant, you know. So what can we do? We can't do much except wait and watch and pray. And I do appreciate you guys praying for my wife and me, and I hope you keep it up. And pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. Offerings at this time are extremely appreciated, obviously. And pray for me and my wife to be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray that my health holds up and improves. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos for me. And I will keep you updated. I will be updating Telegram, and if things happen, like eggs hit the fan or things like that, or I may put out more prayer requests if needed, which I doubt, but it could happen for my wife. I will be very general, like pray now for more healing. I'm not going to get specific because she really doesn't want that, and I'm respecting her wishes, and that's it. So, if things develop with the war, and they can any day, I mean, Israel's not going to reveal how they're going to do it, to what magnitude they're going to do it, or when they're going to do it, or it's just going to happen. Okay. And Iran is coming out with all kinds of threats because they're scared. They're threatening Israel. Netanyahu's laughing at them. Now they're threatening Biden. They're trying to threaten everybody. They can threaten to have an Iraq attack us, Hezbollah attack us. They're trying to get everybody they can to get at us to stop this. But they, basically, you could say Iran was writing checks they can't cash. They were believing their own lies. I don't know what damage the big cyber attack that Israel apparently did on them the other day had, and if it's still damaging them, and if it could be reproduced, or other kinds of cyber attacks or other attacks. Remember, nobody expected the pager attack in Hezbollah, and then after that, the walkie-talkie attack, along with fingerprint readers and cell phones blowing up. Nobody expected any of that stuff. It came out of the clear blue sky. Nobody expected us to drop 85 bombs on Nasrallah's headquarters and kill him. So don't think that we really know what Israel's going to do. We don't. Expect it to be very deadly and very surprising. And remember, they've got to stop somehow the missile launches from Iran. That has to happen. And that goes with the radar going out too, so the planes could fly over safely. That has to happen first. Maybe not. Maybe they'll do something else, like that cyber attack that throws Iran into disarray, and then attack. So we don't know. We don't know. And we shouldn't know. Why should they tell us? It's counterproductive to tell us. They should keep it quiet. And they should execute it as best they can, and that's what they're going to do. Okay? And the best thing for us is to pray for Israel, pray for the soldiers. Don't be afraid to do that. Pray for the 2 witnesses to come quickly. And pray for your exodus out of America, which is probably going to happen rather soon. And we'll meet in Israel. I won't be hard to find, I don't think. And that's what I got. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And thank you for the much needed offerings. And you guys got my email. It's in the bottom line of the description box. You could ask me questions, and I'll try to help when I can. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I am out. Thank you.